All right, brass players. This is Mr. Brandenburg here. We are looking at the third section of Another Brick in the Wall. If you have not watched the first two videos for Another Brick in the Wall, you need to go back and find those. They're listed as instrument parts or e-learning, and they're all on Google Classroom. So what you need to do is we are going to take a look at this last section and then try to put the whole song together. Okay, so what you need to make sure of, you should have already done one pass off on the first about 17-20 measures. Then you should be getting ready to do a second pass off on the middle section. And today we're looking at the third section, which will be the pass off for next week, which means at the end of next week you should be basically able to play through the opener, maybe not at full tempo, but they're getting pretty close. Okay, so this is brass only. If you're a woodwind player, you need to hop over to the woodwind video and make sure that you're watching the right one. All right, so we're going to start with trumpets. All right, so trumpets. We spent the majority of the last video, which was really and truthfully probably your most difficult one, since you don't have a lot going on here at the beginning. So what we are doing, and I apologize because I'm typing at the same time, is we're going to review a little bit of this middle section as it pertains to the end, making sure that we can see the difference between the trumpet 1, 2, and 3 parts. Okay? All right, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to go back to 23, it looks like. Yeah, 23. This is the trumpet 1 part. I've gone through and have been playing some of these myself, and the trick is making sure you know exactly where to start each part. That is really the trick when it comes to playing these. Okay? All right, so what I'm going to do is very slowly count from 23 to the end. Okay? 3, 4, 1, 2, and 2, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 2, and 1 E and a 3, 4 E and a 2, 1 E and a 3, 4 E and 2 E and. Okay, then you got some rests in there. Then we come back in with this same melody that we had here at 17. So it's 1, 2, and 2, and 3, and 1. Okay? So here's what we're going to do, is I'm going to go through all 3 trumpet parts. And then with trumpet 1, don't go away. We're going to come back and then put them all together at the end. Okay? So what I'm going to do is this. If you will go through trumpet 1 and you will mark what beats you come in on the beginning of each one of these. You can see a lot of them are on 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay? Trumpet 2 from the same place. Let's see how yours is different. Okay? The biggest thing is to realize that you have a pickup to 23. Same place we just started with the firsts. Okay? So if we start in 22, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, and 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, and 2 and 1 and a 3, 4 E and a 2, 4 and 2 E, a 4, 1 . So it changes just a little bit through this little section. Okay, and then here it's the same as it is here. It's just different pitches. So it's 1, 2 and 1, 2 and 3 and 1. Okay. All right. So the big thing is checking this little spot. So this is 4 E 4 and that's 1, 2 E, 3 and okay, so 4 and 2 E and 1 E is how that little section goes. Okay? All right, let's take a look at Trumpet 3 and see how it relates to the other two parts. Okay? So, same thing. Pick up to 23. Not measure 23, not right on it, but to pick up to it. Okay, so measure 22, 2, 3, 4 and 2 and 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 2 and 2 and 1 E and 4 E and 4 and 2 E and 1 E. Okay, and then your part is, again, it's the same rhythm here and here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. All right, so here's what I would suggest. For most of the second and third part is more or less together, and the first part is the one that's a little bit different, okay? So take a look at your music. If you go to measure 22, all right, at measure 22, both the seconds and the thirds and the horns are going to come in on beat 4, okay? Then second and thirds, you come in then on beat 2 in measure 23 with the first trumpets. So what you get first trumpets is they play one first and then you join them. So we get bum ba dum, all da da, and then you're together, bum ba dum. And then the same thing happens in the pickup to 27. The seconds and thirds are on beat 4. Bum ba dum. Then first you join them on beat 2. Bum ba dum. Okay. Then you're together at 29. And then at 31, you do it one more time. So the seconds and thirds go bum ba da on 4, 4 and first you come in on beat 1. Okay, so we get this back and forth thing going. So trumpets, you got to understand when you listen to this recording how your parts are changing just a little bit. Okay, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the trumpet 2 part from the beginning. We're going to do the whole thing since y'all actually have a lot of rest there at the beginning. There's no sense in me just doing that one section and then going all the way back. So we're going to go all the way from the beginning with the trumpet. Actually, let's do this. Let's go trumpet 3 first, and we'll work our way backwards. Okay? So follow along with your part, trumpet 3. And this is from the beginning. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mellophones start at 7, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 1, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And then it rests until the end, okay? So most of those you probably heard pretty easily. Be careful on this one. This is the one where the first trumpets on the downbeat have this big moment. You third trumpets have to come in right there. That's your moment, okay? All right, let's take a look at the second part and do the same thing. Seconds and thirds, you should be seeing that your part is very close, but let's just make sure. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 4. 2, 3, 4. 'Alright, so again, in the recording, you can hear these. It's this one, second trumpets, that you have to be very careful of, that you get off of this note and come in on beat 4. Okay? Alright, first trumpets. Yours is the one that's a little bit different than the rest. Your main goal is to make sure that you do not jump early. Okay? You are going to have the tendency to want to come in before you're supposed to. So that's what we need to make sure of, okay? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Them, you, together, them, to them, 1, 2. 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, Okay, so first trumpets, this is the spot right here. It looks very easy on the page. Okay, it's just right on the downbeat. But this is going to be one of the spots that you are going to want to jump in early. Okay, what is that? 32, 1. Okay, you are going to want to jump in early there. And what you have to make sure of is you are on the downbeat. Okay, you're going to hear 4 and a. So it's got to be 4 and a, 1 and a. All right, and it's this big moment. And if you listen carefully in the recording, luckily for y'all, the first trumpet part in the recording is the one you can hear the most. But seconds and thirds, make sure that you are making sure you're not following the first part the whole time. Okay? Good luck. All right, horns. What we are going to do is we're going to take a look at the last part of Another Brick in the Wall, and then we're going to try to put it all together. Again, if you have not watched the first 2 videos, you need to go do that first. Okay? All right, so in last week's video, we got to somewhere around in here. Okay? So here's what I'd like to do. What I'd like to do is start back here again at about 25 and review this part and then get down to here to the end. Okay? This little midsection right here is going to be the confusing part. All right? Because you have to know your part really, really well because the other parts are moving at different times than you. Okay? So it's going to be imperative that you know exactly when your part is playing. Okay? All right, so slowly from 20, what is that, 25? Yeah. All right, so 25 is 1 and 1, 2 and 4 and. All right, so there's the first one. What I would go ahead and do right now is I would take my pencil and mark right here because you're going to need to break and get a breath right there so you can get to 4. Okay, 1, 2 and 4 and 4 and all right, and then each one of these, what I would do is go around and find these beats. So I'm on 4 and 4 and 4 and 2E and 1E. 4 and 2E and 4E, 2. So it sounds really, really complicated, but what you need to worry about more than anything else is what beat do you start one of those on. As long as you know what beat you're aiming for, the little flicks, won't be the issue, okay? All right, so do this for me. We're here, this is beat 4, okay? That's beat 4. That's beat 4. All right, so all 3 of these are on beat 4. This one starts on 2. Ba-da, be-da. So you get 2E, and then, I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a brain conundrum. 2E and 1E, and then we're back to being on 4 again. This is on 4, this is on 2, this is on 4, this is on 2. So 1E, 4 and 2E and 4E and 1, or and 2, sorry. All right, so each one of these, what I would do is I would go through and mark 1, 4, 2, 4, 2, to where I'm marking each one of those big beats so I know where I'm aiming. If you're aiming for the little ones, that won't help. You need to aim for the big ones, and that'll make sure you're in the right place. Okay? Then to finish the song out, at measure 32, we've got this same melody that we've had for the whole song. Okay? Ba da dee da 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 da. 2 measures of rest, and we do it one more time. Ba da dee da do da dee da. And it's the same thing each and every time. All right, so a quick note thing. make sure if you're looking at the top part, F sharp and G flat are the same note. Okay, those are both middle finger on mellophone, but F sharp and G sharp are the same note. E flat, also your middle finger on mellophone. That's a little different than on horn. Okay, so when I get down to here, I'm playing E flat to D, middle to 1. Let me do it this way. Middle to 1, E flat to D. All right, and then I've got F to G flat, which is also F sharp, and going back and forth here. Okay, if you're doing the second part, C is open on mellophone, and D flat is 1 and 2. It is not 2 and 3 like it is on a horn. It is 1 and 2. So it's bump, ba-da, 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 like that. Okay? All right, so luckily both of your parts are written on the same page, so you can see both in one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at about 17. Okay? And we're going to get this last part. One, two, three. Bump. 4, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4. Two, 3, 4. Okay, so you can see what you're going to have to do in this little section here. Okay, you're going to hear the first trumpet part. You are not the first trumpet part. All right, you've got to make sure that you are coming in on those beats. So this is a part that I would go back and rewind and find all of those parts. Okay, all right, I'm going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to do the whole thing. Two, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. One. One. One, 2, 3. Four. Two, 3, 4. Okay, and you hold to the end. So what I would suggest for you horns is going through it and doing it slow and trying to get it to tempo. What you have to understand is that you can't just go from my super slow tempo to the recording. There's going to have to be work in between. You doing work in between to make sure that you're going from super slow to all of a sudden where it speeds up. Okay? But that is where you're aiming. All right, so make sure that you're doing those pass-offs and make sure that you're keeping up with that work. If you have any questions, you can come on the afternoon just like any other, every day, 12 to 3, Ms. Green and I are live for questions. All right, good luck. All right, trombones. We are going to take a look at the third section of Another Brick in the Wall. If you have not already looked at videos 1 and 2, you need to go do that now, because I'm only going to be looking at the third section, and then we're going to put the whole thing together at tempo. Okay, so you need to make sure as you're looking through these things. Now, as I'm looking through this, I'm not going to spend a ton of time, especially in the second half, on the second trombone part. And the reason being is because most of the rhythms in this part that we're doing right now, most of the rhythms are the same. So second trombones, you need to listen to these rhythms. Then I'll show you yours on the second part as well. But then I will go back and let you see your whole section and the whole song. Okay, but if you haven't done these first couple of sections for your part, you've got to go back and figure them out. Okay, they're on the other videos. Okay, now, so we're all looking at the first part right now. We're going to start here. This is in the area where we ended last week. Okay, because once we get to the end here, it's mostly long notes. All right, so let's just make sure. Let's start here at 23 and just review a little bit of what we did last week as we get into it, okay? So at measure 23, we go 1, 2, 3, 4 E and 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 2 E and 1 E, 1 E and 4 E and. All right, so it's a lot of holding. All right, so here's what I would do if I was you. Starting in this section, and all of this is pretty big. Okay, so we can't be breathing every 2 seconds and doing stuff like that, trombones, that you like to do. We're gonna have to hold all this out. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay? Alright, so here's what I would suggest. 4. You mark this as beat 4. 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 And mark this as beat 4. More or less all of these are the same. They're all on the 4th beat, and they're C's and D's. The only one that's different is this one. This is a second position D flat. These are all first position D naturals. Okay? Now, when you get here, this is on beat 2. Okay, so you've gone 4 and 2E, 2E and these are all D flat, and smearing means that we're more or less not tonguing. So it'll be ba ya 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 ya, which will more or less just be you moving the slide. We're not necessarily moving it slow, we're just not doing our normal tonguing throughout. Okay? So 4 and E and 1 E is how that one is. And then here we get to another downbeat. So this is on beat 1. You're aiming for this quarter note on beat 3. 1 E and D and 1 E and a 3, or yeah, on 3. 1 E and a 3, and then here we're back to beat 4 again. 1 E and a 3, 4 E and. So again, you're going from 1s to 4s. Ba-dee-da, dee-da, and you see this line here? That means that this little smear section is all through here. Okay, so you going from 2s to 3s to 4s to 1s. Is the sound we're looking for. Okay, so for a lot of you, you're going to get to play like you've been wanting to play your whole life. But now you actually are going to be right when you do it. Okay, Then we get to here, and again we're using a smear. 3-1, bottom, 4-1, 4-1, and then we're holding throughout. Okay? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start right around 17, and we're going to take a look at both of these parts, and then we'll look at the whole thing. Okay? Oh, I started it too soon, sorry. One, two, three. 4. 4. 1. And these are not smeared. These are legato tone or tied. Okay? So we're going to do the same section with the trombone 2 part. Okay? So trombone 2's same idea. It's making sure that we see when we're moving. Okay? And we did this part last week. So we're just checking mainly this little section right here. Okay? So same section. Oh, that's a bad start. Actually, I'll tell you what, trombone 2s. That's my fault. Let's go back and just go from the beginning. Okay? So, we'll do the whole trombone 2 part together, and then trombone 1s, we'll do your whole trombone part together as well. Okay? My apologies. 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4. Okay, trombone 2, so you can see a lot of it you're moving together. Remember, this from video 2 was something that we worked on. If you're starting trombone with this, go back to video 2. Okay, and then use this video to put that part with it. All right, trombone 1, let's do the same thing. Let's go back to the beginning, and I'll go through your whole part with you. Two, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 1, ba-dee-da. 2, 3. Bum ba da. 1, 2, 3. Ba ba da. Ba ba da. Ba ba da. Ba da ba da ba da. Ba di da di da da di da. Alright, so trombone 1, again, the main thing is listen to this little section right here. And you can hear when you're with trumpets, when you're with other parts, and when you're not. Because some of it does change. You got to make sure that you're paying real close attention to it. Okay? Good luck. All right, baritones. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the third section of Another Brick in the Wall as we're trying to put the whole thing together. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to review just a little bit of what we did last week as we go into this next section. If you have not yet watched videos 1 and 2, make sure you go back and watch those. At this point, you should have already turned in a pass off, and you should be getting ready for a new one. Okay, so each week the goal is to get one of these sections, so by the time this year of e-learning is over, we'll at least have 2 songs. Okay, done. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to pop down to about 27. Okay, where all this little stuff starts happening. So the main thing that you got to be careful of in these sections is making sure you know exactly what beat you're going. Just to look at it, it doesn't look too bad. However, all the other parts are moving differently than you. So you got to make sure that you know exactly where you are. Okay? For right now, let's have all of you looking at the top parts. Okay, on this. Don't worry about the bottom parts. I might just keep all the baritones on top parts. So go ahead and just learn those first. Okay? All right, so if we start here, the first thing that I'm looking at is I'm looking to see what beat all of these start on. Okay, lots of ties, lots of slurs. But as I look at this, I see that this one's on beat 4. I see that this one starts on another beat 4. This is on beat 2. Okay, this is on beat 1. This is on beat 1. This, I'm ending this quarter note. This quarter note's on beat 3. And this next one starts on beat 4. So as I'm looking through this, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 and 2E and so 2E. This is beat 3, so the quarter note is beat 4. 2E and 1, 2E and 1E is what I'm aiming for. Okay, as I keep going, 1E and 1E and a 3 is what I'm aiming. Again, I'm aiming for beat 3. So I would write in all these beats to make sure as I'm going through that each one of these beats is landing, all of these notes are landing in those places. 1E and a 3, 4E and, okay, because that's the main part. I think y'all probably got this no problem, and you're going to have the end with no problem, but it's making sure that all this lines up, because it's also the loudest part of the whole song, okay? So listen to me one time from 25. Ba-da-dee-da, ba-da-dee, 1, 2, 3, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da, ba-da, 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 da-dee-da, dee-da, da-dee-da. Okay, and you go, okay, well, it's just the same thing over and over. But again, they're all on a little bit of a different beat. So you got to make sure that you're checking them very carefully. Gabriel, for you, I would suggest also taking a look at the top notes. I don't think you'll have a problem. Just make sure, E flat for you is still middle finger up there. Other than that, it shouldn't be any issue. Okay? So here's what I'll do. Here's the bass clef part. Baritones, I'm going to start at the beginning. I'm sorry. Let's start around 17. And we'll do this ending part. And then we'll go back and do the whole thing. Okay? Four. 2, 3. 4, 2, 4, 2, 1. Same as the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing, the same amount in the treble clef version, just to make sure. But what I would point out in bass clef, people, go ahead and look at the treble clef one too, because the rhythms are exactly the same, and it'll give you another chance through it. But you can see this little section right here. You might have been listening to the recording and realized, oh, I've been playing with the wrong person. Okay, because you can hear a lot of that trumpet one part, but you're not really with the trumpet one most of the time. Okay, so here's the treble clef part. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1. Okay. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the bass clef version and do the whole song. Gabriel, I hope you don't mind. I'm not going to do the treble clef one. If you need a little help with the treble clef one, just send me a message, okay? But this way, you'll make sure that you're playing the right parts, okay? The group of y'all, what I would do is y'all need to probably try to FaceTime each other, get in touch with each other, because y'all are one of the smaller sections. You're one of the deepest sections, one of the best sections, but you're a small section. So y'all can get together and try to get this stuff together on FaceTime or meets and stuff like that, okay? So let's go from the beginning. One, 3, 3, 3. Very important. 3. 2, 3, 4. So one of the biggest things I would point out to you is when you're hearing these parts, a lot of times in the recording, when you're hearing this part, ba-da-dee-da, you're hearing the mellophone. So when you get down here, same thing happens. All of a sudden you're hearing mellophone, and it doesn't mean you're always with the mellophone. So you got to make sure that you're looking very carefully at your part and make sure you're playing exactly what it says. Okay? Good luck. Good luck, Baritones. All right, tubas. We are going to finish out another brick in the wall so that we can go all the way through it. Okay. So last week we took a look at almost to the end. So what I'd like to do with y'all, because this song for y'all is not going to be the hard one. The goal in this song is making sure we're very dark and we're very present, and it gets louder and louder and louder. But the notes and rhythms themselves on this one are not too tough. Okay, so let's just review a little bit, and I'll count along with you, and then we'll do the whole thing. Okay. Make sure if you have not listened to this part, the videos I've done on this, make sure you go back, because I'm just going to start down here and go back. Okay. All right. So from 23. I'm just going to start here right on 23. So we get 1, 4, and 1, and 3, and 1, and 3, and 1, and 3. Now we're all going to top notes here. And 1, and 3, and 1, and 3, and 1, and 3, and 1, and 3, and 1, 4, and 1, and 3, and 1, and 3, and 1, and 3, and 1, 4, and 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4, 4. Okay. So the big thing is all of these dotted rhythms have to be right on, because no one else in the band has this rhythm. Okay, everyone else is going body da 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 and doing all this kind of crazy stuff. Y'all have to be the foundation. Y'all cannot waver. It's got to be exactly on the beat. That way all this other crazy stuff on top of it makes sense. Okay, just to make sure on these, we've got C's and D's. Remember, D is no finger, C is your first finger. Okay? All right, so here's what we're going to do. Because we've done pretty much your whole part, what I'm going to do, tubas, is I'm going to go back to the beginning and do this whole part with you. Okay? Most of you could probably read this more or less. Okay? If we were in class, you'd more or less be able to sight read this one. All right, so we want to make sure that this is something that we can play right away. All right, let's go from the beginning. 1, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Breathe. 4. Big breath. 1. And. Big breath. 4. 4. Breath. Breath. 4. ba ba ba, breath. Bum 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 bum. Okay, tubas. So hopefully, as I'm going through this, you can go back and listen to this a bunch of times, and you will hear your parts in there. Okay, there's a lot of other stuff going on, but y'all know as well as I do that without the tubas, without that underneath part blasting through, it's just not going to sound right. Okay, so take a look at that. Make sure that you're keeping up with your pass offs. By next week, we should more or less be able to play through this opener individually. Okay, so next week we'll start looking at the I don't want something, the Ozzy Osbourne song. All right, so good luck, tubas, and I will see you next week.